A former dance mom, he is world-renowned for his talent in designing leotards for small-town county festivals and ballet recitals. After a small accident with a bedazzler, he now crafts these expensive beauties without using either of his two thumbs. Please say hello to Casey Sparkles Aubin.
Él es un camarero que se come la comida de todos que dejan atrás. Le gusta patinar y comer uvas, huevos y arroz. Su segundo nombre es Guadalajara y está deseando ir al bosque los fines de semana y hablar con las ranas. Saluda al señor Jeffrey Albino Heiden. Normally in sporting events, there is a coin toss. In this event, there is a chicken toss. Mr. Schmidt, I told you not to do that anymore. All right, so we are going to flip the chicken to see where the chicken's head points. That person is going to go first in our battle of words. Oh, Mr. Aubin, you are first. Audience, he gets 6 minutes. If he goes anywhere over 6 minutes, he is yanked off stage aggressively with a little bit of violence. We had to stop Dr. Colentis earlier today. It was kind of sad, but not really. It was kind of fun to pull the principal off stage. All right, Mr. Aubin, are you ready?
Second. Prepare. I'm good. All right. So this is entitled One. First, it's important to define one according to Webster's. It can be denoting a particular item of a pair or number of items, a noteworthy example of something used for emphasis. One can also, can I start over? Okay. Oh my gosh. All right. All right, I kind of feel like Eminem. I mean, I've only got one shot. My knees are weak. My arms are sweating. And I'm nervous, but on the surface, I look calm and ready to drop bombs, but I keep on forgetting. So here's what I wrote down. Rule number 1, turn to the crowd and say, yo, it's 8th hour, so it's okay to be loud. Casey, rule number 2, don't forget, it's okay to freak. I mean, after all, you're up here rapping at Writers Week. Rule number 3, don't make any more rules. I mean, even though this is school, your audience are teenagers and they don't find rules cool. So that's enough of the 1, 2, 3. Y'all know me as Mr. Aubin, but now it's time to be me. And if you didn't know, the real name is Casey Lee. So sit back and relax because admission was free. So where do we go? Let's start the show. So 1 is where it's at, and it looks like I'm up to bat. Many people have gotten up here swinging, but believe me, I only need to get my 1 swing in. It's like when you're at a show and then that 1 beat drops. It's the weekend, so you're lacing up your 1 favorite pair of Reeboks. You're balling on the court straight, rocking some knee socks. Or that one time at Writers Week when you learned your teacher knows how to beatbox. It's like when you see that 1 inspiring play. I'm talking Alexander Hamilton. I mean Lin-Manuel Miranda, man. He was just 1 playwright, but now he's here to stay, right? And we're just talking 1 famous play, right? 1 famous playwright. I took 1 chance at Writers Week. Now you see me overcoming my stage fright, so hang tight. I might trip over my words while I'm busy ripping all these verbs. The words are coming quick, but now I've come too far to quit. I mean, don't get me wrong, because I'd like to be done. But there's more to say because 1 is just too fun. It's like when you're out with your friends and you hear that 1 hit, it's why you turn to your buddy and say, yo, dude, that was lit. It's like that 1 special song that can fix anything that's wrong. It's like that 1 incredible game, right? Yo, is that teacher talking Fortnite? Or maybe it's that 1 game where we can all be this same night and show up in armor. Or that 1 time you could have sworn in class you found out there's such a thing as karma. It's that 1 perfect pass. I think the kids call it a dime. It only happened once, but now you try it all the time. It's that 1 perfect score on that 1 one perfect test, like a number 2 pencil, it erased all the rest and lifted that weight and tightness from your chest. Maybe it was one score that did not go your way, but that's okay, because it was only one day. Now, if you do not believe me, then maybe you should find those things called CDs. Bob Marley said it, one love, one heart, let's get together and feel all right. Too old for you? Okay, how about when Drake said, all I need is one dance? Oh, and I almost forgot about that one philanthropic Chicago rapper, I think his name is Chance. Now, excuse me for speaking metaphorically, because it's time to rhyme historically. History is full of that one big moment where some regular person decided it was time to stand up and own it. Like that one brave girl who defied the rules and said, thanks, no thanks, Taliban, but I think I'll go to school. Or that one famous Greek who brought half the world to his feet, creating a Hellenistic society that practiced lots of piety. Or how about one big famous speech that preceded the storming of that one big beach? I mean, I hope you're really hearing me. We're talking about the destruction of oppression and tyranny. Or that one team for that one game, that one victory that suddenly erased 100 years of shame. Speaking so historically, I'm sure there's some kid out there thinking, dude, you're straight up boring me. So excuse me now while I flip the script, but I'm going to take you all on one of my favorite trips, and it starts like this. Once upon a time, it was supposed to be just one date, but before you knew it, it had turned into fate. One romantic dance class feeling this was like your last pass around that merry-go-round that society calls dating. I'm talking Romeo and Juliet with bated breath finding yourself waiting for that next 5-minute phone call, or even just a chance to say hi in the hall. From one special girl to your very best friend. In the novel of life, you read it, and she was there in the end. Off to San Diego, you found that one special place. Couldn't feel your feet like floating in outer space. Heart beating like crazy, and everyone but her looked hazy. And suddenly it was like you got shot with an arrow. So many strangers watching, you didn't really care though. And sure, it took all of your might, but you asked her, will you be my wife? And then that one special girl, for some reason, she said yes, but you all go to school here, so you all know the rest. So like one perfect game, I think I just threw a 300. I could keep on rolling, but it would seem redundant, and I don't want to stand up here and make my rhyme sound repugnant. So one has been fun, but now I've got to run, and like a senior after spring break, I swear I'm freaking done.
Mr. Aubin. Yeah, you want to go here? Mr. Heiden, you have your work cut out for you.
Let's see what I can do.
Let's see what you can do. Are you ready?
I'm all set, yeah. Oh, my fault. All right, my fault. Hey, all righty, let's rock. The definition of many can be a lot, several, or some. But for the sake of my argument, let's assume that many is anything greater than one. Let's think of everyday life and how if we only had one of these things, it would be brutal. Imagine if Wrigley Field only had one urinal. The fact that they have so many is the only thing that gives you a chance. If they didn't, by the top of the fifth, you'd have on two-toned pants. Driving the highway, you can go fast where it's fun. What if all those lanes, of which we have many, were brought down to one? You get stuck behind an old lady, lost in her way, and a 20-minute trip winds up taking you the whole day. Speed limit 70, she's going 36 in a fright. You leave Libertyville at 9 a.m., don't get to Chicago until the middle of the night. From this kind of situation, there are many emotions to choose, and the fact that you can all respond differently is what makes you, you. Some of you are generous, kind-hearted, and polite. You smile, laugh, welcome anyone who comes into sight. Others of you wake up, and you're just looking for ways to troll. If there was an unattended house on Halloween, you're the people who walk away with the whole bowl. Now, I'm definitely not hating. I would never tell you to cease. The craziest thing to do in that situation would be what? Walk away with only one piece. Food offers so many options, it's insane. Limiting us to one in all contexts would actually be inhumane. Picture finishing a marathon, getting handed a bottle of water, and only being allowed to take one sip. What if you opened a bag of Doritos and only saw one chip? What if you were eating Bosco sticks but weren't allowed to double dip? The thought of that makes me so freaking sick. Looking beyond quantity, the many options are great. You can go to Ponderosa right now and put Mexican, Italian, Chinese, continental, and soul food all on the same plate. There are some in here who probably think that There are some in here who probably think that buffets are gross, and you guys, I would fight them. Because what's the opposite of a buffet? A restaurant that serves only one stupid item. Music and dance, there's many options that are strong. Dance is the best because you can have a step for every song. You can waltz, tango, hit the cha-cha slide all night long. As long as you're doing some crazy stuff, people are going to think that you belong. Think about 8th grade, when the only thing you guys thought you could do was grind away, and you've moved on to masterpieces like the whip and the nay-nay. And for the record, I'm not big fans of those, but I think the Millie Rock, you guys are really onto something with that one. I think that one's going somewhere. With music, we have pop, rock, rap, country, and the blues. And within each genre, you have so many artists to choose. With rap, we have Drake, J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, even the Migos crew. And they gave us the greatest song ever, Shook Ones. Not the original, because that's lame. Shook Ones, Part 2. With any form of art, it takes time to perfect and make something as good as it can be. Can you imagine if Lil Wayne only had one try? We would have never been blessed with the Carter 3. All of these can be educational for sure. I swear that everything I know about the Cold War, I learned from Sylvester Stallone in Rocky IV. And I know that I'm probably the only guy alive, but I really honestly do think the greatest movie ever made was Fast 5. And after the first try, there's always things you can go back and fix. Jay-Z didn't give us the blueprint until album number 6. Go back to your youth where we had many Power Rangers who morphed and Snow White was running around with not 1, but 7 dwarfs. And I know he's controversial, he's had impact for a while. We wouldn't have Eminem if it weren't for 8 Mile. And all of those things, these things that we love, these things that we hate, it's what makes each and every one of us irreplaceable and great. Your goal might be to be one of a kind, and that's cool. But you're gonna need many other people to influence, help, and guide you to find what is really true. It takes many perspectives, approaches, and attempts to learn and grow. Just trust me, you'll see. I didn't listen to a country song until I was 23, and now it's one of the greatest things ever in my opinion. Appreciate it, Colsey. There isn't one way to get rich, one way to be happy, or only one way to get through. You've got to expose yourself to many things in this world and many different people, and then you'll find the real you. Thank you.
Who knew they were writers? It's awesome. All right, we're going to determine based on your applause who you think won this Write Club bout. Mr. Schmidt is going to be a human volume meter, and we're going to see by your applause and yells and screams who won. So if you think that the winner of this Write Club bout, arguing for the topic of 1, is Mr. Aubin, please make some noise. And if you think that the winner of this Write Club bout, arguing for the merits of many, is Senior Heiden, make some noise. Mr. Aubin, you are our winner. Thank you, both of you. You can either have a seat there or head out or wherever you want to go. All right. Mr. Thomas told a story earlier today. Are you telling a different one? All right, so if you were here earlier today to hear Mr. Thomas's story, he told a really good one about his grandma and about being a middle school boy who was super awkward. And now he's going to tell you a different story. So please welcome our English and theater teacher, Mr. Thomas.
So my children call me Papa. Some people think that's a little odd. They think, why not Dad, Daddy? But ever since they were born from day one, they've always called me Papa. And there are several reasons why they call me Papa. I just like the ring of it. I like the way it sounds. I love my own father. My dad and I are close, but I just maybe wanted it to be a little bit different. It's an Italian word, and the Italian word for father. And it was just something that was important to me, and my wife was like, yeah, definitely, you're a papa, you know? So when my first daughter was born, and when we got pregnant with our first daughter, when we went to the ultrasound, they had asked us, do you want to find out as a boy or girl, you know? And we had decided no, like we did not want to know. And lots of people were like, what, it's 2000, well at that point, 2007. And they were like, why don't you want to know? And we were like, no, we just, you know, we want to keep it a surprise. And we hadn't really planned this, but it was obviously going to be a boy or a girl in one way or the other. And we had picked a name for a girl and a name for a boy. When she was delivered, I helped in the delivery. Some people were like, no, I do not want to be in that room. And I was like, I want to be there for every moment. And when she was delivered, the doctor let me help deliver my daughter. And when she got into my hands, I remember looking at my wife, and I didn't say, it's a girl. I looked at her and I said, it's Ava. And it was like, it was this person, this being, right? More than just a gender. Like, it was this girl, Ava Elaine, our little life. The name Ava means life. And so we were so excited about that. And like, she made me a papa in that moment. Any parent in the room knows like that moment you became a parent and how beautiful that is. Since then, we delivered an Ana Lucia, and I got to say it's an Ana Lucia, and then I got to say it's a Win, our son, and then just lastly, I helped deliver our last baby, who's 2 years old now. It's Ruthie, and each of those moments were really special to me and to my wife. But truth be told, I've actually delivered 5 babies. So the 5th baby is not mine, and it was a completely unknown experience that I did not plan for. I was 19 years old the day before my 20th birthday, and I was spending the summer in Kenya in East Africa. So there's this young, fresh kid that goes to Augustana College, liberal arts school, that wants new experiences and let's do something different in life. And Mom, Dad, I'm gonna go to Kenya. And they were like, what? So I was like, yeah, and I went on safari and that was amazing. And I made good friends that were from different towns in Kenya that were still close, and we email and connect, and they live in life in Nairobi. And I was able to take a photography class from a college in the safari of the Masai Mara area. It was amazing. I was also doing some service work. And when I was there, it was called the Kibera slums. It's actually one of the largest slums in the world, and largest collection of people, I should say, in one mass area. And there was this woman who very heroically had sold all of her wealth. She was from this area near Kibera. And she sold all of her wealth and chose to invest it in the slum area in order to specifically invest in the midwives that were living in the area. Obviously, you should know that AIDS is a huge problem, specifically in sub-Saharan Africa. And in this East Africa area too, lots of midwives were dying from AIDS because they were delivering babies in these metal huts, more or less, and without any glove protection, the transfer and with all the extra blood in the area and around the event of childbirth, they were just contracting the disease. So this woman said, let's create a space for the midwives to come to and then get the pregnant women to come and deliver these babies here. It was also attached to a child clinic where children lived, and then also mostly orphans, and they went to school there too. And that's where I was volunteering with the children. So I was playing with these kids all day, teaching them various things, lots of health-related issues, and then all of a sudden the woman came to me and she said, Chris, we need you to come in and help deliver a baby. I was like, excuse me, I'm playing with the kids. And she's like, no, we need you to come in. It's just me right now. Normally I have at least another nurse, if not also just an aide, and then usually there's a doctor in the room. That's one of the ways we've convinced the women to come, is that there's a doctor in the room. And she says, you're a Mzungu, you can come. Mzungu is like the equivalent of a gringo, right? Basically, you're a white man. And it was this weird relationship where she'll just assume that you're a doctor. And I was like, what? That does not sound right to me. I'm studying speech and theater in college. Yeah, I can act like one maybe. So she puts a white lab coat on me and I'm like, I don't know how I feel about this. And I get shoved into the room and she's like, it's gonna be fine. Just listen to what I tell you to do. I walk into the room and there is this Kenyan woman laying naked on a table. And I'm 19 years old, and to be honest, I have never seen a fully naked woman in my life. And I'm like, where do I look? Oh my gosh, what's going on? And I'm like, try and play it cool, you're the doctor, right? So I'm standing there, and she's like, hey, Chris, come here. And she has me put my hands on her pregnant belly and start pushing. And I'm like, I don't think this is how you deliver a baby. But I'm like, and I'm also, this woman is in pain, she's delivering a baby. It was some of the most painful experiences on earth. So I'm kind of pushing, and then I'm looking at her face, and I'm like, I'm going to step away from this. I don't feel comfortable with this. But what else can I do for you? So she continues to ask me to like help her out with other assistants. The whole process lasts about 4 hours. By the time those 4 hours are over, she hands me, literally the baby is born, and she hands me the baby seconds after the baby is born. And she's like, hey, Baba Chris. Because Baba is the Kiswahili word for father. And she puts the baby in my hands, and I'm looking at this living creature, and I'm like, this human being is seconds old. And at 19 years old, the day before my 20th birthday, I was holding this new baby. So that was 16 years ago. And every day, the day before my birthday, I think of, they named her Anne. I think of this Anne, who's close to many of your age now, and just living life, hopefully successfully, hopefully happily. I don't know where her direction went, but I also think of her, her mother, and I did meet her father as well, and the life that they live. Because of that moment and where we were, that's one of the reasons, the moment that she looked at me and said, Baba Chris, I think of that Baba word, like Papa, right? It's one of the things that sat with me, I like the sound of that. I think I want to be a Baba someday, right? And so that's one reason why my kids call me Papa. Thank you.
All right, so we're going to ask our 3 teachers a few questions about their writing process or what they did, and then we'll see if there's time for you all to ask some questions. So Mr. Heiden and Mr. Aubin, I'll have both of you answer this one. You both went with rhyming for yours. What made you decide to do that? And can you just tell us a little bit about how long did it take you to write it? Did you go through a lot of revisions? Was it a last-minute sort of thing? What'd you do?
To be honest, there's a little bit of procrastination. And so that took about 2 hours to put together. And at first, I just started trying to find general rhyming schemes and things that I thought would appeal to the majority of the audience, which, high school kids. So that's why there's some of the game stuff and some of the other references in there. And then after seeing some of what was there, I tried to make sure I got back to actually proving some of the point about one. And so there was some revision process, but for the most part, it was about 2 to 3 hours, and probably procrastinated a little bit. So that was me.
Definitely procrastinated as well. I would say as soon as I got the topic, my mind just initially has always been intrigued and very interested in rap music, so that's the direction I knew I was going to go right away. I definitely was not going to write out a very eloquent piece. So I tried to channel a lot of the people that I mentioned, and put some stuff on paper and just try to make it rhyme and basically just throw a bunch of darts at the board and hopefully one of them would stick.
Did you guys do much in the way of revision? I mean, Casey, you said you spent about 2 hours. Was it all at one time? Did you come back and look at it later and say, I got to change this, or what?
It was mostly for 2 to 3 straight hours, just kind of first putting together some things that seemed like they would rhyme and seemed like they would fit. And then after the initial sort of construction of just some of the rhymes, then I tried to thematically group them together. So in there, going from the historical stuff in the one part to some of why one is fun with the music with your friends. After I just kind of like Jeff said, throwing darts at the board, I saw what kind of stuck and then tried to group them together categorically and thematically.
Did you rehearse? Did either of you rehearse it?
I rehearsed, more than maybe 2 or 3 times. So I had my wife listened to me rehearse a couple times, and it helped having some input and feedback. So yeah, it was key.
Yeah, I went through it a couple times as well, just making sure. Obviously, I didn't freeze or freak out up here, but that was about it.
Did you guys? Did you feel nervous, or were you okay?
Super nervous.
Okay, well, it didn't show. Okay.
I actually got really sick to my stomach when I sat down after having gone up there. In the moment, I was just trying to read through, and I think I actually read through it much faster than I had initially wanted to. So I tried to take a couple of breaths and take a break. And then once it was was just kind of like a blur. And then once it was over and I sat down, I felt this big pit in my stomach, and still kind of do now. So, yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Thomas, being the theater guy, What if those two, as teachers who are in front of students all day long, are feeling nervous? You can only imagine what a student getting up for the first time would feel. Do you have advice for people who get stage fright?
Take a class, like speech class or a debate class.
This is not a plug.
No, but honestly, give yourself other experiences like this. Take a risk of getting out on stage in some way or another, even if it's not theatrically performing, but give yourself experiences where you have to do something in the moment or on the spot. Put yourself in the experience where you sign up to speak out at Write Club, right? It doesn't have to be huge, or sorry, not just Write Club, but Writers Week. Because the more often you put yourself in those situations, the better you will get at it. And like, as teachers, we're up in front of people speaking every day, but it's not the same as performance or public speaking. It's a different scenario, even though that certainly helps. But try and create and find experiences. Sometimes it's locally, like speaking in front of your church or a youth group. Sometimes it's a team, right? Or other situations where you could think of, like, some people even have to speak at their jobs sometimes, but if you can find a scenario where you have to take that opportunity rather than shying away from it, that will always help.
Do any audience members have questions?
Mr. Thomas, I have a question. Was there ever a time in your life where you had stage fright? Because you kind of seemed like the answer was no.
Oh yeah, definitely. And the thing about nerves is that it's the fight or flight syndrome, it's part of your hormones, right? So it just kicks in whether you like it to or not. Like you said, like this pit in your stomach, right, Casey? Like those are the things that you can't control, and it's more about how you control how you respond when your body responds that way. So when you get that energy, what you do with it and how you respond to it. But I still get nervous, and even though in my head I'm like, I shouldn't be nervous, but all of a sudden I'm like, yet my hands are numb. Why, right? So your body just gets nervous and you respond sometimes that way.
We have a question back here.
Do you ever find it difficult to get inspired? And when you do get inspired, what usually inspires you?
I think the question is for anyone who wants to answer. How were you inspired to write your piece? What inspired you to come up with your idea?
Well, a lot of what people up here have already mentioned. I was super scared, super nervous about doing this, but I did kind of want to put myself out there, just see what it would be like. So that gave me a little push into the ring. Once I got the topic, it was rap music from the get-go. That's what I was going to go with. That's what I was going to follow. And that was really the only type of writing I had ever done. Not that I was ever a rapper. But that was the thing I thought would be best, so that's what kind of got me going in that direction.
One of my favorite classes when I was younger, I took college prep writing, which prepared me well, but one of my favorite classes was creative writing. And this was actually the first time, probably since I was like a junior or senior in high school, to try and write creatively. And so once I sat down and started typing stuff up on my laptop, it actually felt really cool to kind of tap back into a skill that I don't really get to try to utilize a whole lot. So I just kind of found myself refinding, if you will, a certain skill set that I really enjoyed when I was younger, but then as a history major in college and as a history teacher, a lot of that can be very literal and you don't get the creative sort of writing component to it. So it was just kind of a fun opportunity, and like Jeff, always kind of grew up as a fan of rap music and different styles and forms of rap and Alexander Hamilton and stuff like that. So I thought it'd be my one chance, because most likely not something I'm going to do a whole lot randomly on the street or in the middle of the hallway. So, yeah.
Did you plan your pants together? Did you guys plan the pants?
I think it was just total random.
Nice.
Yeah.
There's a question over here. Hold on, I'm bringing the mic around.
So I'm in German class, so I didn't really understand what your introduction was in the beginning.
The thing I read in Spanish. She wants to know what your introduction said, what I said about you when you came out.
I didn't create my own introduction, but I'm pretty sure I was a waiter. Favorite foods are grapes, rice.
And eggs.
Eggs, thank you very much.
And you dream of walking in the woods with frogs.
I dream of walking in the woods, talking to the frogs. My middle name's Guadalajara. And I thought and my nickname is El Baño, which means the bathroom. So, Mrs. Naslin on that one. Thank you very much.
I was inspired. Any other questions? We have, not very much time. Do we have one? Quick
One more.
Mr. Thomas, so you did your whole thing from memory. So do you find that like makes it easier or harder when you deliver something that you wrote?
It's always good to practice. I'll leave it there.
Thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you again tomorrow. And thanks to our teacher contestants.